Chapter 4. Please go ahead and open your books and highlight and tab Easy Accessibility into Chapter 4. Chapter 4 covers mountable equipment on the M4 weapon system. This includes aiming devices, lasers and illuminators, the adaptive rail system, and mountable weapons to the M4. We won't go into super depth because we all come from different units assigned to the Colorado National Guard and Colorado Air National Guard. Here is a list in the TC referenced in your .9 in Chapter 4 that includes all possible mountable aiming devices, nomenclature, the attachment, the TM, and where it should be mounted on the weapon system. We highly recommend talking with the SMEs at the unit level as well as the provided doctrine within the TM to ensure that the mounting equipment that you attach at your units is placed correctly on the weapon system. Continuing, we have the basic maintenance and lubrication for the weapon system. Shown here is a video of what we recommend for basic maintenance and lubrication of the weapon system.
Hello, I am Sergeant First Class Kenneth Rose. Welcome to Shooter's Corner. Welcome back to Shooter's Corner. This is Staff Sergeant Michael Howard with the U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit's Custom Firearms Shop. I'm going to be discussing the M4 with you today. First thing that we're always going to do, make sure that the weapon's clear and safe. Inspect your chamber, make sure there's nothing in your mag well. At that point, you're going to let the bolt release in, allowing your bolt to protrude forward. Takedown pins, pushing in from looking at the rear, the left to right, breaking it, shotgun variant, pulling out your bolt carrier assembly and your charging handle. There's a T-slot cut into your upper where your charging handle will be coming out of. Keep in mind of that, not to pull just straight directly back. At this point, we're going to take the takedown pin on the front out, allowing your upper and lower to come apart. Continuing on, we're going to take the buffer spring out by pushing in the detent, allowing your buffer and buffer spring to come out. Taking the firearm and putting it from safe to fire, retaining it and guiding it forward, we're going to release your hammer, not allowing it to strike your bolt stop with the full energy force of the system. At that point, your lower is taken apart. Now we're going to move on to the upper. For your upper itself, with the bolt carrier and the charging handle coming out, we're at the point ready for cleaning. Always follow the path of your bullet, going from your chamber to your muzzle with your cleaning rod, brushes, patches, and so on. At this point, there's no set number for how many patches or how many brushes you run through it. You do it until it's clean. It could be from 5 rounds and then enough foreign material to make this happen, or from 500 rounds. Always make sure that your weapon is properly maintained. Now let's move on to your bolt carrier. We're going to disassemble it by pulling out your retaining pin, allowing the firing pin to drop forward, drop to the rear. At this point, your bolt cam pin, rotate 90 degrees, tapping it out, and pulling your bolt out. Your bolt carrier disassembled. Taking a quick look at your bolt carrier, we're going to have a couple points we're going to look at. The key itself for your bolt key, making sure that there's no burrs starting on the front, the stakes are all good to go, and then that the body itself is overall clean of any debris. Pay special attention to the inside. That's where we're going to really want to be looking for cleaning, making sure all the carbon is out of that for proper operation of your bolt. Now we're going to take a quick look at your bolt itself, making sure that it's free of carbon, not removing your parkerizing. You're going to want to inspect the lugs, making sure there's no cracks. Make sure that your springs have positive tension on them for your extractor and ejector. Making sure that the firing pin can move freely within the body itself, and then a thin coat of oil on it, making sure that your rings are not aligned. Your cam pin. Pay special attention to around the hole for your firing pin for hairline cracks forming at that point. Thin coat of oil, proper lubrication. Your firing pin. Making sure it's free and clean of carbon, that your firing pin tip can protrude and has no overall wear on the tip. Your retaining pin, making sure that it's complete and not fractured in any way, clean of any carbon, and lubricate for surface protection. Taking a closer look at your upper, we're going to want to make sure that we pay attention to the chamber itself and the barrel. To the best of your ability with what you have at the time, clean your barrel and your chamber so there's no foreign material or fouling. In the upper itself, pay attention to remove excessive carbon building inside. Make sure that your forward assist is freely moving and your dust cover safety retaining pin is in operation. All right, at this point we're going to move on to the lower. Making sure that your buffer tube itself is clean and free of debris and dry. This is not a reservoir point for lubrication. Your hammer is retained, making sure that the sear surface is as clean as possible on both your trigger and hammer. Your mag release, making sure it properly functions and properly is retained. Your bolt stop freely moves in the operation of its function. With your hammer retained, make sure that your safety moves properly to all three positions. Your buffer spring, making sure it's free of any burrs and debris. And your buffer body itself, make sure it's free of debris, wipe dry for reassembly. Now that we've reassembled the boat carrier, we're going to take a quick look at points of lubrication. The shiny surfaces, which are going to be these four for the overall riding of it inside the upper, the rings themselves, and at that point, your boat carrier should be ready for reassembly. Now that we've gone through our M4, we're just going to do a quick functions check, always maintaining proper muzzle awareness. Make sure that the weapon is safe. Release your bolt. Check your safety. Should not fire. One click, vertical, should fire. Holding your trigger, retaining it, listen for the metallic reset. Going back to your safety. That was a quick look at the M4 for disassembly and lubrication. Thank you for joining me. See you next time on the range.
This was Shooter's Corner. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. A lot of you know that the turn-in procedure after training at the unit level into supply and turning back in your individually assigned weapon systems is sometimes a hassle. And sometimes we have heard guidance that it needs to be polished clean. We do not recommend that. These weapon systems are able to function with basic maintenance. We should never use any abrasive material. Going back to stories coming from 1st the 1-5 Infantry years ago on weapon turn-in after a drill weekend or a field training exercise or annual training, soldiers would go out and acquire equipment that is not meant to be used on weapon systems. I remember a time when we would take bolts and bolt carrier groups and parts of the weapon system and spray them down with brake cleaner and oven cleaner as to ensure that they are polished clean and would not get kicked back to supply. That needs to stop. We need to follow the instructions in the TM and ensure that we are not damaging the weapon systems further by the proper maintenance of the weapon systems.